Start this meeting of the Barre Housing Task Force at 7:01, just over the
Homelessness Task Force.
homeless. What did I say? Housing? I apologize. Homelessness Task Force. So do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes. If she shows up, I was just going to welcome Rebecca Baruzzi, who works for the Barre Unified School District, and her job is to keep track of and do outreach and track, etc., homeless school age children. And I can't remember the last number I saw. There was a wonderful article about her in the Bridge, and at that time there were 80, I believe. Also, I will be uh, sharing, but I think it can wait, uh, an invitation I sent to Representative Woods to meet with us at some time, and then information I picked up from the meeting of the Housing and Homelessness Task Force of Vermont Interfaith Action, who has been interviewing various people, including the new DCF Commissioner, Chris Winter, uh, Ways and Means Committee Chair, uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Kornheiser, Emily Kornheiser, uh, and a couple of other people. And I'll share that information at the end because it's just under the category of information.
Okay, so Stephen, we could put that on updates from other committees, and when Rebecca shows up, we can introduce her because she was at our last meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yes, she was.
Yeah. And Linda was also at our last meeting, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Oh,
I'm eating my dinner, so I don't want you guys to watch me eating my salmon.
no worries, Linda. Linda. And here is Rebecca. So, and do we have any, moving right along, public comments? Evening, Rebecca. No public comment, and I do not see Samantha here yet. And approval of minutes from the previous meeting. And I got a note saying that the meetings are a little, oh, there's Samantha. The meeting minutes are a little late. That's fine. It's you know, it's that time of year where things are going to be a little late. Excusable. I've seen some of the stuff. Oh, there's Tess Taylor. We have a full house. Greetings, Tess. Greeting Linda and Samantha, who just came. So we are I've seen Philip's agenda is posting some front porch forum, so I know he's extremely busy. So new agenda item. So people that were at the last meeting, we discussed doing a survey to folks that were homeless and unhoused, how we're going to get that out. It was a cross discussion with the chief of police. Do people have any ideas, suggestions? Oh, there's how we were going to get that out, if there were ideas, what types of things were going to go on that survey. You know, we're going to think about that, talk about that. Any ideas, spitballing? Jeremy.
Yeah, so, and sorry for missing the last meeting, so this may have already gotten brought up. But as anyone mentioned, bringing it up to Barre Up, I know they've done some canvassing themselves and have begun a data collection process overall around housing in general, but as you might imagine, a significant amount of overlap with our mandate here. So
right. No, and that's a great suggestion of kind of meeting with them and seeing what Barre Up is doing. I know they're working on a lot of flood relief So we can actually talk with them and see what they've already done in doing some cross-pollination. Chip, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought I threw this out at the meeting we had with the chief, right? I said, why don't we just ask them? I thought that the issue we are trying to figure out was very simply, how are the police treating you?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what the discussion with
Right.
the chief was about, some issues that people had talked about. So, I
Right.
mean, I would volunteer to do this. I don't know where to go. I don't know where I mean, I know where the beach is in Barre, but I haven't seen very many swimmers there lately. But I don't, if somebody could take me or show me how to get there and stuff, I could ask questions. I don't care.
Yeah, and I think the discussion was, Chip, if there were any other questions, if we wanted to ask I see your hand, Linda. Miriam, I saw your hand first. Go ahead.
Was just wondering if the survey was something that could be handed out at the area.
Miriam, I do apologize. You're breaking up a little bit, so I didn't catch all of that.
Just wondering if the surveys can be handed out at the various shelters.
Yeah. And also if Chip is volunteering to do that, if Chip could actually just go to the various shelters.
Yeah, and then, you know, the people that are connected to the shelters that do outreach would probably be helpful with that.
Yeah.
And community meals, same thing.
Good
Mm.
idea.
Is there a particular survey that's like already in hand, or is that yet to be designed?
Evening meals.
There isn't so just some background, and I know Linda had her hand up, so I'm sorry, Linda. I'm just and then
That's
I
okay.
saw Tessa's. Then I saw
That's-
Tessa's. Some background. There wasn't the conversation was based on the fact that we had some complaints from people that were homeless and the way they were treated by the Barre police, and we wanted to know the conversation with Chief Vale was, you know, if there was some way we could get some straightforward, you know, testimony, fact, figure of how the police were treating them. Basically just a blind anonymous survey. And Chief Vale wanted to know if there was some way we could develop a survey or just point blank some way of getting some testimony, because there are no ways of figuring out if what's being said is hearsay or testimony or how the police are treating them, because they do not have body cams. And is that a good synopsis for people that were there?
Mhm.
Okay, I see some. Linda, you had your hand up.
I was going to suggest there's a Safe Streets Barre Facebook page, and
Mhm.
there is a Barre City chat. I think it's Barre City or Barre chat, resident chat.
Mhm.
Could a link to a survey be put on those? Survey monkey of some sort. I was also going to suggest the council and the shelters and heading maybe.
Mhm. Can I revise that to say churches?
Sure.
Tess, you had your hand up.
I guess I'd like to suggest that we just keep it as simple as we possibly can. You know, I mean, I think all these ideas technology wise are good ideas, and, you know, going to the shelters and stuff. But, I mean, the issue was around, the police treating people with disrespect, bringing them from Barre over to Montpelier and dropping them off there. You know, just a bunch of stuff, but it became he said, she said,
Mhm.
in the discussion. So I said, why don't we ask them? So, I mean, I would say that's the question. I mean, if I was to do the survey and I went to the camp, I mean, I would just want to ask people, you know, how are people being treated at by the Barre City Police Department? I'm on the homeless task force, and we had a discussion about this, and here I am. So,
And I
Uh,
think putting that survey on the Barre City Facebook chat page, whatever it's called, wouldn't be necessarily our target demographic of who we're trying to survey. You know, I think that would be feedback that could be gathered in other ways. So I think this is really going to be a canvassing effort versus let's put a survey on Facebook. I think in general, those surveys on Facebook work, but not for this target demographic, I don't believe.
Okay, I saw Philip's hands and Jeremy's and Stephen. So Philip.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Chip, so he's thinking that we should focus on people who are not using the shelters, that the ones who are quote unquote camping, that's seems to be where the issue is. That's
that was my thought. But
yeah, I thought that was kind of where we started out, but just because you're in the haven at night, you could still have issues, but yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
So Stephen, then Jeremy, I believe that was the order.
I'm putting what I have to say in chat, so I pass.
Please don't, so for accessibility issues, because not all of us are on.
Just reminding people that that they can use the raise hand function
All
to
right.
speak.
Thank you. Okay, Jeremy.
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in. I think it'd be useful to create a survey that we can both you know, have a narrative field or whatever, and it's pretty straightforward, but also make sure to capture a few, you know, numbers that we can assign to different data points, just in case we want to ever do the survey again. Then we can more easily compare the results from this year if we decide to resurvey next year and see if they've improved or gotten worse or what have you. So, you know, 1 to 5, how do you feel the police have been treating you? You know, when's the last time, how long ago was the last time you had an interaction with the police, et cetera, et cetera. Just a few things like that so we can quantify some things.
Go ahead, Chip.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's exactly what I was thinking, pretty low key. I mean, I don't mind the idea of surveying homeless folks in various settings as well. The one I was most interested in that particular discussion was the police.
Mhm.
I saw a hand. Stephen.
Yes, while I was looking for the raise hand function. I hear two things here, both of which are worthwhile. I hear Chip saying, let's keep it simple with even just a one question, and it would be qualitative, take a few notes, and it would say something like, we interviewed X number of homeless people, and a Y number of them indicated they had some problem. At the other end, I hear Jeremy saying, well, let's do a little bit more sophisticated questionnaire design, which does that, but also asks for a couple of Likert scale type things so that we, to use his phrase, have some data points. We certainly want to move ahead and do something. Uh, I would suggest that Jeremy design a simple questionnaire, but get it to us for comments before our next meeting. I don't see a necessity for us to take a formal vote, but to give feedback and also to make sure we incorporate Chip's suggestion and definitely hear from Chip if he's going to be the one carrying this instrument around. So if we can resolve this by producing something within a couple of weeks, and let's face it, that this is the worst 2 weeks of the year for this, but come up with something and start the data collection. And in administering it, if Chip's going to be doing it, Chip may say, there are 2 questions on here which just aren't working. I want to drop them or something like that. So if we can work informally and get something done, uh, I would like to take that route. For those who are interested, I'll take a look at an instrument because I have training, but it's not something I want to be very much involved in because I don't have any more time and I'm old.
So
So
Miriam, you have, sorry,
speaking of old,
Chip, I'm gonna interrupt.
how many camps are there?
Chip, I'm gonna interrupt because Miriam has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Thanks. My question is, why wait an entire month to write a 2 or 3 question survey and then begin to distribute it? I say, why not? I mean, we've already talked about the 2 or 3 questions that we would like to see on the survey. Is there some reason we couldn't firm that up tonight or tomorrow or email each other and get it started? Because I personally will be visiting the overflow tomorrow morning.
That's what I was suggesting, that we move ahead, not wait.
So now I'm gonna go ahead with Chip. So Chip, I don't know how many camps there are exactly. I can't give you a great tally on that. But I can, the best place to start would probably be the shelters.
Right, but in terms of camps, are there any places that people would know to send me to go to? I don't know where they are.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yeah. So Jeremy, I saw your hand up first.
Yeah, I was basically just gonna say that, make the same point about we don't need to, I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this. Right, I think there's a tiny number of questions and we can just sort of organize them how we will. It sounded like there's some mention of 2 specific questions in mind out of last time that wanted to get asked. I'm just sort of writing down a quick list of questions now that I can fire out after this meeting, and then we can just all start bouncing it around on that email chain.
Linda, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to just share something with you. I did the census in 2000. Sorry, that's a long time ago. What we did is we went out to the camps at night or early morning to find people. It was easier to access more people. You would find them in the shelters, or it was just easier, number one. Number two, just really short list of things to ask them because some don't want to comply at all. That's all. Just offering that up as how we were successful at doing that. That's all.
No, that's a great point. Earlier and later are better.
And at the soup kitchen, at the meals and stuff, he'll catch them when you can, basically.
What were these 2? There were like 2 main things. It sounded like. What were they?
Have you had any negative experiences with the police lately? Or what have your experiences with the Barre City Police been like?
Yeah, I don't think it was said negative. It was just interaction with the police.
And I would also say for the timeline, I would also like to run it by Chief Vale before we put anything out to have his 2 cents in it. That's why probably the turnaround time wouldn't be the next 48 hours. It would probably be 72. Because I would like to have the police input on it first. And probably the reason why it would probably not be a quick turnaround is because, cost of printing, et cetera, et cetera. And this is not, again, we're volunteers here, it's just one of those things where we have to rearrange our schedule. Phil, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna try and answer Jeremy's question. According to my notes, which I'm trying to do this time, so I get the minutes out in a timely fashion. The question seemed to be interactions with the police and how were you treated? Those were kind of the two main things so far, because not every interaction has to be negative.
Brooke, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I'm just trying to stay in my lane of just being here as a staff person from the city, because otherwise I'd be volunteering to go with Chip to wherever and doing all that. So I'm just trying to be mindful of my role right here for this. I mean, I think it's good to get input from the community, and that definitely feels like it's something that really we want to happen as the homelessness task force. So, and I think, yeah, like a few questions and just see, what their experience has been with the police and how they felt like they were treated, and then go from there. But yeah, I'm just trying to stay in my lane and not, because normally, like I said, Chip, I'd be like, hey, I'll go with you and I'll take you. But I know since I work for the police station, this isn't the time.
I just wanted, Steve, you had your hand up?
Yes. Brooke, you were quite helpful in giving the chief a heads up that he was going to be invited to this meeting. And I noticed an effect of that. The fact that you spoke with him, he came in, he was not defensive, he was relaxed, and he was willing to talk. Again, as staff person, I think you could serve a valuable function by saying to the chief, this is coming, they want your reaction, but they are trying to move quickly. Because otherwise, it might just go into a pile and then. So, yeah, I don't want to tell you how you have to behave as a staff person, but it seems to me that there's a value with this. And you don't have to go with Chip to the camps, but you have knowledge to share with him before he sets foot in one.
True.
I'm sure he would welcome that knowledge. So please don't minimize your role. And also, folks, we aren't saying things just for something. We're saying them. You didn't hear me say, I just want to add. I added. So there we go. Thank you.
All right, so sum it all up. Jeremy's gonna get some preliminary questions out, send them out. We're gonna review them with the chief, try to get these out by next week. Sound good?
Sounds
I
great.
think we should give Jeremy, but I think we can give Jeremy faster feedback
Yeah,
as individuals.
but Jeremy, you look like you're on the spot.
But yeah, I was just gonna say I'll fire something out. Like I might even send you guys something during the meeting. Like we can do this quickly.
So
I
let's shoot it back to Jeremy as fast as you can.
Cool. Just throw this out there. I have location, date. How many interactions have you had with the police? When was the last time you interacted with the police? 1 to 5, how would you rate your interactions with police in general? You feel you can contact them safely in the event of an emergency, and any additional comments?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
that sounds
And
that's simple.
once we're kind of, I don't know, I get more of a formal okay on that, I can put something together that we can easily print out, and I figure we can like list locations that people can just circle rather than needing to write them down. That way we can keep them consistent to a write down date, and then make it as quick and easy as we can. So
And one open-ended question at the end.
yeah, I have any additional comments at the end. We can reword that. My feelings won't be hurt if you decide that's a bad way of phrasing it.
Should there be a question about any needs that they have?
No, is that really the purpose of the survey?
No, but if we're making contact with them, is that something that should be addressed?
Maybe.
I'd probably throw that in anyway, whether it's on the survey or not.
Right. And I sent Chip a message and did offer to go with him just because, for
Yeah.
safety reasons. I think it's probably not wise to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you get the message back?
I did, yeah.
I would throw that in there, and it can be, we could just put a thing about Miriam. I do see your hand up, but I just want to get this out while it's in my head. Sorry. Put any unmet needs, and then we can compile. These are the unmet needs.
Right, because it may be things that we haven't necessarily thought, things that are low hanging fruit that could be assisted with easily.
Right. Miriam, please go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, I did not write down my question. I forgot. I will let you know if I remember.
I apologize for interrupting. I just needed to get that thought out while it was in
No,
my
I'm
head.
sorry. I'm at work, so I'm like doing 3 other things.
Okay. So while you're at work, so are we good with that topic? I don't think there needs to be a vote. People.
Oh,
Okay.
I remembered.
Go ahead.
I was gonna suggest to Chip that when and if he does go out to the encampments, that a laptop would be helpful, because getting people to write things down on paper is often difficult for any number of reasons. So if you have a way to just type up testimonies in the moment, that's really a very effective way to survey folks.
Okay.
Another way to record that is to just Google speak it into a file on your phone, and then deal with it later. There's more than one way to collect data, and Chip can find what works for him.
I'm more of a clipboard and I'll fill it out guy, actually.
Whatever works for you, Chip. Okay. So updates from the overflow shelter, and Miriam, I might ask you to help me with this one. There isn't much for updates from the overflow shelter except for it's full. Full every night. It's, as we all know, the overflow shelter is the old Elks Lodge, Montpelier on country, the cannot think, Erica. I don't like these late night meetings. It's full every night. And the need is still great. People are still out in the cold. Miriam, putting you on the spot, anything else you'd like to add to that one?
So far it's just about the same as it was last year. There's a little bit of an adjustment period. People have been moving around. There's been violence and stuff. It's the beginning of the season. People need to get settled in. We'll see how it goes, and we'll just take care of people as we need.
Updates on warming shelter in Barre. So a lot of people I'm going to put on the spot for this one. I did talk to the library, like I said I would. They are not interested in hosting a warming shelter this year, for various reasons. One being, they cannot accommodate a warming shelter. They've already had the Milne room occupied a couple days this week, a couple days this winter. The staff person they had running the warming shelter last year disappeared on them for many days, and now they can't find the person. They had complaints from the patrons of the library. They had complaints from the union. They had complaints from the staff about cleaning, etc. And they don't think they can do it again. So Barre does not have a warming space. Yeah, there's really not that much. The city council did allocate monies for a warming space for the winter, but there's no place for a warming space. So Last year, I know that the library director did it as a last ditch effort. And it was a big fight that we won. But, you know, if they can't find the staffing and they don't have the space, you know, it's one of those things. We don't know where to put a warming shelter. Wow, lots of hands there. Phil, I saw you go up fast. Go ahead.
By first, well, I know at the last meeting I said I would talk to the churches to see if they were interested. I personally didn't attend the big meeting, the Barre Interfaith Group meeting, but Beth Mueller, my wife, did, and I spoke with Earl Coopercamp, and I think they both came away with the feeling that no church was interested. There was no traction. I think we might be able to find a space with the Church of the Good Shepherd, the Episcopal Church, but they would not staff it. Okay, and I think that's it's a little late in the game for us to try to do this, but you never know.
Right. Miriam?
I'm just gonna throw in that my coworker is yelling out that Coop will work with us. I was gonna say something like the Rainbow Bridge or like other community spaces. Like, is there anyone that we can reach out to?
I'm gonna let that question hang there and go to Tess.
Hi, and thank you. So
Tess,
what
can you introduce yourself first?
oh, sure. I'm Tess Taylor, and I live here in Barre City, and I am the new homelessness and housing liaison for the city. This is an 18-month granted position from the Agency of Human Services. So I'm wrapping around a lot of stuff here, but my question is there a written down or a sense of what is the criteria for a warming shelter? I mean, is there a formal definition of a warming shelter? Like what is, you know, like how much space is needed, what kind of space is needed, what kind of staffing is needed? I think that the thing is we talk about warming shelters, but I don't know if anybody saw what it actually was written down.
I can clarify if I may jump in. I know Stephen's got a hand up, so should I wait, Erica?
Go ahead.
Okay, I was one of the staff members at the warming shelters last winter. And what we did last winter is that they were an in-between place, right? So another way was open during the day from 8 to 5, and the overflow shelter opened at 8. So most of the people who staffed the warming shelters were Another Way employees, if I remember correctly. And so we would close Another Way at 5 and then go and open the warming shelter between 5 and 8. And they were all last year, they were all in the local congregations in Montpelier. And then everybody would go, everybody who was, you know, we were just moving bodies around the city. You know, they would go from Another Way to the warming shelter. And then from the warming shelter, they went to the Christ Church where the overflow shelter was last year. So again, this year, they're going directly from Another Way to the overflow shelter. So I'm like, the idea of a warming shelter is nice, but are we talking about a day shelter? Are we talking about an evening shelter? Because again, like we're not sending people anywhere. Like it's not, we can't really open a warming space from like 5 to 8 and then be like, oh, okay, it's 8 o'clock, go be outside. So I don't know, but that's how it worked last year.
So, oh, Tess, you have your hand up again. Is that an old hand? So a warming shelter is basically a place that's staffed, that's warm for people to go for a little while before there's a place for for people to hang out where they can go to another place. So there is no really definition. It's just a warm place for people to be. So in Barre, what it looked like was because Good Sam closed at 8. They went to the library until the library opened at noon. Steve, you have your hand up?
Yes, a couple of things. First, and this just popped up because I took a look at Jeremy's email, and Jeremy, in any
It's-
future emails about the questionnaire, take out the city manager, take out public notice as addressees. Also, keep in mind that you are sending something to every named member of the task force. That makes it a public document and subject to the Public Records Act. Recommendation is to send a blind copy, send it to yourself with a blind copy just to the members of the task force and nobody else. Question 3, it looks good, by the way. I would add to question 3.
Steve, is this on topic to warming
Yes,
shelters? Okay.
right, I'll get there. Okay, I'll send my comment about question 3 back to everybody. With respect to warming shelters, and Tess, I'm thrilled to hear about your appointment. I would like to know a bit more about who you will be liaisoning with, because it sounds like that this particular topic raises the possibility of you liaisoning. For example, is it possible that the churches would be willing to rotate so they did not carry a burden of a warm shelter 5 to 6 days a week, but one day a week, with the understanding that there would have to be paid staff coming from somewhere, and we would all know what that staffing was, what they were required to do, et cetera, because obviously no church wants to subject its property to the issues or damage. So staffing is crucial. But if there would be the possibility of rotating, and yes, it would mean that if the hours were 8 to 4, that at 4 o'clock people would have to leave, period. Uh, but so that's something, if it's possible for us to look into, I would like to see that happen.
So Tess and then Phil.
Okay, let me lower my hand. So, okay. So as far as the churches go, I did go to the group meeting, the ecumenical meeting, and it's just, it's just a tough situation right now because you've got our church, Phil and I and Joe go to the Church of the Good Shepherd Episcopal, and that's Earl. But Earl is a part-time priest, so as much as he's here, which is a lot, he lives in Corinth, and so it's not like he can be there every day. You probably know this, that Lee, who is the pastor at the Congregational Church, is leaving at the end of this month. Unitarian Church, that pastor's new. I don't think Presbyterian Church has a pastor right now. And Heading's doing really well with Pastor Ray. So it's kind of thin ice right now in terms of the resources at churches. And the reason I brought up, is their criteria is because what if we did a request for proposals or just put it out there in the community that there's some money, and I'm sure the city, as long as everything was equal, would be interested in shifting that allocation for the library to someplace else. But it would seem to me that we would need to know specific things about time, about what, like I said, what the space has to be, what has to be included in the space, what kind of supervision it needs, and insurance or bonding or something like that. And I think that by putting it out there, we might actually find a resource that we didn't think of.
So are you thinking like what are space requirements, like in terms of size? It needs to have a bathroom, it needs to have, like, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's
like physical requirements of the space.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay.
So I would be more than willing to do some research about if there is requirements for a warming shelter. I mean, that's a Google search, I guess. I mean, if there are requirements for a warming shelter. I have not seen any, but I will definitely look. I'm pretty good with Google, so I can do that and get back to y'all.
But Erica, I think that you or this group could probably decide with those. I don't mean requirements by by being anything strict, but just more like, this is what we're looking for. We're looking for a space that can, hold 8 to 10 people. We need a bathroom and a place to wash their hands, and we need, somebody to be in attendance. There needs to be a telephone. There needs to be this, but I think also there is, a liability issue that might need to be addressed or not. I don't know. And then, saying there's a little funding to come with this too, because we know it's not an easy or, that we honor it with some money, that's what I'm thinking.
Go ahead, Chip.
Oh, we just give folks ATM cards.
Give folks ATM cards for.
Get in the vestibule and warm up. I'm just fooling.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to picture that in my head, but I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you just put the thing in.
Yeah, so like in the past, what it was is, conversation wise, people were talking about opening up where Barre Up is now and putting people there, but it all comes down to a matter of staffing. So go ahead, Phil.
Oh, I had two things, and Tess kind of covered the one. That I think, yeah, when she was talking about requirements, that we would impose those, that it's not like there's a list out there. There's just a common sense thing. And I know, Brooke, that you were at that big meeting. What was your feel about the churches? Because I know Beth told me you were there, so I'm just.
Yep. It's exactly what you guys have said, like that. There wasn't a lot of interest. Churches don't necessarily have, like the leaders, like with people leaving and whatnot, and then to come up with staffing would be a problem. So exactly what you guys said. And I think, and if I can flip, that they also, like the church has said, like in last year, they had put up some money as well. So maybe they'd be willing to do that. However, they can't physically, they don't have the availability to have the physical space. And I'm skipping through my notes, but you guys can come back to me.
Okay, thank you.
So, I know it's late in the game. It's December 6th, but it's also going to get colder. We all know the coldest month is February, January, February. Do we want to pursue a warming shelter? Do we want to not pursue it? I don't want to see people cold. So, my thing is yes. Stephen,
Sure.
you have your hand?
I think this calls for a formal motion because I want city council to be aware of what they're doing here too, the power structure. So I'm going to move that the task force, uh, pursue getting information with an aim to establishing a warming shelter if feasible and possible. And Phil, I'll clean up that language before you do
Thank
the
you.
final notes. But I think the intent of my motion is obvious, that we continue to discuss and pursue the idea if practical and feasible.
Do we have a second? Chip
Chip?
seconds? Do we, okay,
Yes.
do we want to call a vote to pursue a warming shelter with city council?
Moves task force getting information about.
Do Miriam, is that a yes?
Well, I'm a little confused about the pursuit of the warming shelter. I mean, obviously, I think it's necessary to make as many people warm as possible. But I'm thinking about it, if like a warming shelter is like, it's just a space, like it's not an overnight place. It's just like, we're just trying to find somewhere for people to go during the day.
Exactly.
That's the intent of the motion. Yes.
Okay,
Yes, because the library is open from the Good Samaritan Haven closes at 8. The library doesn't open till noon.
it Good Samaritan Haven, like people can't just come to Good Samaritan Haven. I'm at Good Samaritan Haven right now. Like you can't just come here and stay here for the night. Like the beds are taken. It's full.
Right, but the idea is that a lot of folks go to the library at noon to warm up, so they have a place to stay until 8 o'clock at night in Barre. Okay, even if they're not Good Sam.
Yeah.
But they have no place between
8
8
p.m.
a.m. and noon.
Oh, 8 a.m. and noon. We're not concerned about the overnight. Okay. Well, it's
Yeah,
not that we're not concerned, but we
We're
can't
in-
deal with that right
right.
now.
It's not, yeah, exactly. It's not that we're not concerned. It's just we have the money to solve this problem right now.
Right. Thank you for the clarification.
No worries.
So then that would be part of the proposal, that we're looking for a space that would accommodate X amount of people, that has a bathroom, hours of 8 to 12, decide the numbers, the amount of staffing we need. That would kind of be all,
Right. A computer.
well, internet, something, yeah.
Yeah. Wi-Fi.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I might add that in making a list of characteristics of the shelter, we're probably going to have a list that has some mandatory items like bathroom.
Well,
And-
can we go back and just have a vote first if we're going to pursue this, and then make a grocery list?
or just say that it's going to be mixed. We'll be doing both and putting it together.
Okay. So let's have a vote to pursue, and then we can make a grocery list. So I'm going to call a vote. We want to pursue this with city council. Show
Well,
of
I think
hands.
was not the intent was not to pursue it with city council, but for us to develop the project and then do and communicate with whomever we have to communicate.
Okay. So we had a second, Chip seconded, call a vote. I'm calling a vote. All right, the ayes have it. Stephen, do you and I want to work on developing this?
I will work on perfecting the motion. I don't have a lot of time to work on the specifics of what we would want in a warming shelter. I think there are other people here right now who know more and could contribute a lot more than I could. For example, Miriam was just listing a bunch of stuff, etc. But we'll get it done. You're the chair, you'll get it done.
All right,
got the
Miriam, do you and I
authority.
want to work on this?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, let's email within the next, I don't know, 24 hours.
Right on, works for me.
All right, let's come up with a grocery list. All right, moving right along. Conversation about portalets. Always on the top of my mind. How are people going in the bathroom? I haven't really seen any portalets around town. Brooke is shaking her head.
So I saw this on the agenda tonight, so I texted Nick, and Nick said that there are no longer any portalets and there's no funding for them. Yeah, he said they are gone. Money from the state ran out, was what he had messaged me.
Mhm.
Okay, Miriam, your hands up.
Yeah, sorry. I made it a point to make a list of the ones I saw around town. So I was happy and proud that I had a list of 5 portalets that I had seen around town, but I'm thrown off now because Brooke says they're gone. So I don't know.
Did you see them recently?
The ones I saw were the ones that were on 3rd Street, the one over by Dollar General. There was one in Courier Park. There was one up by the ball field up there. What is it, Prospect Street? And there's one over by, what is it? Where the dispensary is? What is that called? Merchants Row or something?
Oh, something finest.
Oh, well,
That's
Forbin's is the,
by
yeah, but
over by
it's not
Depot
like
Square.
Depot Square. That's it. Thank you.
I think those were specifically flood issue, like it was some part of the flood funding.
Okay,
So
so
they
like
certainly
again,
are.
like I was just making a list as I was noticing them because I was trying to make a point to notice them, but I haven't gone back to check. And I'm willing to, I hear Brooke, if you spoke directly to the town, then that's
I mean, that is what Nicholas told me tonight. But I can drive around and just see if they're still out or what is going on. I mean, maybe they're
So-
still out, but I don't know.
So we don't have a place for people to go to the bathroom.
No, it was my understanding the money ran out at the end of September.
But
I
those
mean,
were flood related.
right, but I don't think there was any subsequent funding.
Stephen,
This is, compared to everything else going on, a low budget item. They are not that expensive. And yes, there's a maintenance cost, but it's the lowest level of comfort that we can make available to our unhoused population. Again, for our new liaison, I don't know whether this would fall under, whether there's something you can do, but I'm going to suggest before I make it formal that we have a motion that directs the chair and or the vice chair to appear at the next city council meeting and make a request for 5 portalets to be restored as soon as possible to the streets of the city. Keep it simple.
so are you making a motion, Stephen?
I'm looking at faces to see. I hate to make motions that don't pass. Right. Yes, I move that the task force delegate the chair or vice chair to appear at the next city council meeting and request that 5 portalets be reinstalled, established, and maintained on the streets of Barre City.
my second.
Okay, I'm gonna call for discussion. Chip,
Refresh my memory. Didn't we put a proposal together? Somebody put a proposal together, and didn't we send this to the city a while back? It had the porta potties and it had where we wanted them.
yes, we did.
Did
Yes,
the city
Yeah.
take action on that? Did they fund it? Did they say, let's do it?
we
Yeah.
had
So they
porta-
funded
yes.
it, but now the money. Okay. Do
Yeah.
you know how much it cost?
I don't care. We're going to make the motion and then we can wrestle with. I'm not going to make that an element of this motion, so I would say it's irrelevant.
No, I
So-
thought this was just discussion.
Yeah, this discussion. Could you make the motion one last time? So you want the chair or the vice chair to appear at the next city council meeting
And
and
ask for,
5
and
portalets be placed around the city?
yes.
Okay,
and maintain.
placed and maintained. And Chip, I think the cost was maybe $3,000 that they allocated for it. I'm going from memory, just to answer your question.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Jeremy, you have a question.
Yeah, well, first off, I'd like to know how the chair and or vice chair feels about this. And secondly, I do think, if we're gonna go ahead and do this, it is important to have the budget in mind, have a sense of how much it does cost. So no, we are, running into a serious, budget issue with the city as of right now, unless we can get additional funding, so. I think we would not be doing ourselves any favors by not considering that.
I didn't say we don't consider it. We don't have that available right now, and I want to get it in front of them. And in the discussion, I'm sure numbers are going to come up and be mentioned, and we'll talk about it. But I don't see it as part of this motion.
And to answer your question, Jeremy, right now they're developing the budget. And I have no problem asking for this money, just because I also have seen people going to the bathroom on Merchants Row. And I've also heard tell of people going to the bathroom behind the churches. And this is a basic need for people, not only for people that are homeless, but for people that are walking down the street. You know, it's, you know, sometimes you want to go to the park, but you can't because you have to go to the bathroom. So I think if they can get porta potties for Heritage Days, they can get porta potties for this. That's just my take on it. So and as my parents said, it never hurts to ask. So I'm fine with it. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I know Miriam just stepped out. Oh, Phil?
It's not discussion, but I actually don't think we have a second for the motion.
Oh, we don't have a second.
No.
Thank you. Do we have a
You're
second?
welcome.
Second,
All right,
That was Jeremy?
that was Jeremy.
Okay, thank you. I was looking down. Perfect.
Okay, Miriam stepped away for a minute. I'm gonna call for a vote because we do have a quorum. A vote for the chair or vice chair to go in front of city council.
aye.
Aye.
All right, and aye. So looks like we're going in front of city council. We are coming upon that almighty hour, and y'all know that I like to end. Looks like the only thing we're missing are updates from other committees, but I think we can put it on hold. If you all don't mind. Stephen,
I would just like to throw one number out that I've learned about in the interview with the new DCF commissioner, Chris Winters. He said their estimate is that the best case scenario is that there will be at least 500 unhoused people with no roof over their head statewide come this winter.
and Stephen, is that including children?
I don't know. I am going to add that I did send an invitation to Representative Woods to meet with us, but for her to suggest dates, because obviously January, the first Wednesday of January is not going to work for her with the legislature coming back into session. And she'll throw out some dates and we'll do the best we can in meeting with her because she chairs the House Human Services Committee, and she has lots of data of relevance to us.
Okay, thank you. And wow. I am wow. I'm just very grateful that that I have a roof over my head. So our next meeting is January 3rd. But I assume that I'll be talking to most of you before then. Miriam, just so you know, we did pass a vote that probably Stephen and I are going to the next city council meeting to request toilets. So, you know, I thank you all for all that you do. Again, I am probably going to talk to probably all of you before the next meeting. You all know how to reach me. I am going to wish you, you know, a happy new year and whatever you celebrate. Be safe out there. It is cold. And if you need anything, please do not hesitate to reach me. I'm available in all aspects. So please be safe. And oh, Chip, do you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, did you say the next meeting?
January 3rd.
January
Third,
3rd,
8th? Oh, okay.
Third.
All right, thank you.
after the new year. So please be safe and happy whatever you celebrate. And thank you for being here tonight and taking your time.
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
everyone.
good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Erica.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.